Here we are. My name is Icentertainer, and I am doing my very first YouTube video in the whole world. So let's stumble through it together. So today we're going to be making this gauntlet inspired by In Space with Markiplier. I made this as part of my Captain cosplay, ego sona type thing. You know, who you are in the universe where you're the captain, that kind of shit. I should start by saying I am by no means a professional cosplayer. This is stuff that I made with my very, very limited knowledge of anything armor making or anything like that. Most of it was just improvised because I really wanted to get this done fast and cheap. Material wise, I used Eva foam. This is also the Eva sample that I used to make a pattern for my space gauntlet, which I ended up using twice because my first one got stolen while I was spray painting it. But I also found this unique to work with, especially if you're not one that uses it a lot, or for the first time ever in your entire life. So what I would always do whenever I was a kid, and this is, you know, way more cheap, is I would get craft foam. And this craft foam was about 84 cents a sheet. So both of these are 2 millimeters thick. I have 2 sheets. I have one with a sticky back so you can layer it on top. The process of this is going to start with making the actual base of the foam first, because that is going to be the most time-consuming process. Not the actual building of the base itself, but having to coat it in all the layers of spray paint and everything like that. Then while the paint is drying, we'll be making our little doodads, the this thing and the this thing. We're gonna be making those. So we also have 3 different spray bottles right here. The first one is Plasti-Dip. This is a protective rubber coating. I saw it on the internet and they told me to, so I'm going to repeat this to you and hope it's right. Then we're going to have, and this is very important, a gloss white spray paint. This is what gives it that glossy sheen that you see. Lastly, I have this, it's metallic dark metal. It looks like this, and then it looks like that. So that's pretty good. And that's what we're going for. Then we have 2 acrylic paints. I have black and I have metallic silver. You're also going to need a measuring tape. We are going to use these to create the dingle dongles and whatever they're called. So I ended up using air dry clay. What I recommend to you is to get baked clay or something that isn't going to take forever to dry. What we also have are table tennis balls. Then we also have curtain grommets. Lastly, I am using a U-pin. You also need a nail clipper, just your average nail clipper. So what you're also going to need is a straight edge of any kind, really, and a marking device of, again, any kind. And scissors. And scissors, you'll need scissors too. Let's begin. I'm going to run through the measurements that I have with you. This right down here is 4 3/4 inches. At the top, or the widest part, it looks like it is 5.5 inches. So it pretty much goes around half of my forearm. Then you're also going to want to measure the highest point. The difference between the tip and the base right here was about 1.5 inches. Let's get started making this with the craft foam. The pink one is going to be the bottom layer and the blue one is going to be the top layer. What you're going to want to do is you're going to take your adhesive backed craft foam. You are going to very carefully remove the adhesive back. You can also just glue craft foam to each other if you feel so inclined. And then what we're going to do is we're going to layer it as closely as possible. So as we went through our measurements, we're going to go through them again just to help out. We're going to start the measurement right at the wrist, approximate how long we want the gauntlet to be. So for this one, we're going to go 9 inches. That is going to be the longest point of our gauntlets. We're going to choose this end right here, and this is going to be our bottom. And we're going to put the 9 right here in the middle. And once you got that, you're gonna pop that sucker off your marking device and just make a couple small marks. Then we're going to have where we would want it to hit on the sides of our forearm. So again, start with your wrist. 9 is where we're going to have it at its longest point. I'm gonna go 1.5 and make that 7.5. Okay, cool. So 7.5, and we're going to make approximate markings for those 2. Then again, you're going to measure across the widest part of the gauntlet, I'm going to do 5 inches this time. Before you do that, you're going to want to go ahead and find your center. We're going to make our center right here. Get our straight edge. This straight edge is not long enough. Mistake on my part. Oh, that's not straight at all. So then we're going to take 5 inches, since that was our forearm measurement. And we measured 1.5 inches down, which is approximately where we wanted the widest part of our gauntlet to be. And we knew that 5 was how wide we wanted this part to be. We selected 2.5 to be at the very center of our line, and we marked at 0 and 5. Then repeating that process, because we wanted 3 inches at the bottom for the smallest part, we went ahead and placed our line at 1 3/4, and that's not right at all. Marked at 3 and 1. Wait, that's not right either. Whatever, we're estimating. Okay, so now that you have this pattern, what you're going to want to do is use a straight edge or really anything else, and either use an X-Acto knife or scissors or some sort of cutting device to make the shape of the gauntlet. Down. This is not straight. Do better than I did. I made this big enough, right? Oh! I did so much math wrong. 1 and 3.5, which makes a big fucking difference. Okay, so now that we have an approximation of our shape, and see, this shows that like you can really this up if you wanted to. We'll find out at the end if it'll turn out okay. This is about the time when we go ahead and we cut our shape out. I finished cutting out this thing and I made the edges all smooth. Here's a reenactment of it. Hooray! Now it's time to go ahead and spray paint this, and then while this is drying, we'll get started on this doodad. For starting with the spray painting, we are going to need Plasti-Dip. We're going to apply 3 coats to this, and you're going to wait a minimum of 30 minutes in between to make sure that it doesn't get all tacky and gross and weird. Hi there and welcome to Outside. Outside, or somewhere similar, is where you're going to want to spray paint so you don't get high or die. It's going to be our first coat of Plasti-Dip. Alright, and then you're going to apply a nice, even, light coat. Remember, we're going to be doing 3 of these, or more if you so decide. Alexa, set an alarm for 30 minutes. We are going to go back every 30 minutes or so to apply a new layer of Plasti-Dip. Wow, check this out. It's clay and a whole bunch of other shit. But right now I have a flat surface that I can press down on. I have some sharp things. I have a nail trimmer with a very particular shape of this trimmy thing. This one's very round. And a U-pin. Hi, it's me. Sorry for the lack of proper instructions. I was super tired when I was filming this and I didn't talk hardly at all. That made sense anyway. So you're going to roll out the clay and make sure it's nice and warm, and you're going to get ready to flatten it. You can flatten it however you like. I ended up using a rolling pin, but as long as you get it into a pretty thin, almost like a cookie dough type, cutting like that, it's fine. So then I measured everywhere that I wanted this particular technological doodad to be. It ended up being 4 inches tall, 1 inch across the bottom, and 1.5 inch across the top. At about 3 inches from the bottom, you're going to taper it inward, that extra 1/2 inch, and you're going to cut it out as best you can. I used an X-Acto knife, and hopefully if this isn't making too much sense, the image will help you out. Get all that trimmed off, and then you're also going to want to round out the edges of the things on the top. All the corners and everything, you're going to make them as round as possible. I used the nail file just because it's a flat surface and I don't have any professional sculpting tools. So between the U-pin and the nail trimmer, I was able to go ahead and make them as
round as I desired, just to give it a little more of an organic look and less harsh. Then from there, you're going to measure up about 1.5 inches. And you're going to use your U-pin very carefully. Do a little like a little indent. Thank you. You're gonna do that at that point, as well as at the top wherever it tapers. You're going to use the nail file, the round part of the nail file we mentioned earlier, to make another less deep indent and just make this little shape. Cut off the excess that got warped. Now using the U-pin, you're going to make this sort of, I want to say vacuum tubing type texture. And you're going to I just eyeballed it. I don't have an exact measurement for you, but make them as close as possible. And please be careful. Do not drive your U-pin through the entire piece of clay. You want these to be ridges, not cut all the way through. You're also going to do the indents on the side to match up, just to give it a more realistic type texture, the best you can, really. Now the thing about that is it's also going to warp sideways as well. So once you get that to your liking, remember not all the way through, you're going to want to go ahead and smooth it out. So I used a plastic knife. You can use any smooth surface and just scooch it in. Scooch it in, make it smoother. Just try to get it back to as rectangular as possible. You're then going to take your grommet and you're going to approximate where you want it to lay and press it all the way through the clay. Then trim that out so that whenever the clay dries, it'll go ahead and match up against the grommet almost perfectly, if not perfectly. You're going to take your U-pin again once more, and you're going to make another indent at the top. Again, remember not to go all the way through, and it's just going to be a small little guy. I really don't know the purpose of what this would serve in actual technology, but that is what I looked at from my references that I took when I was making this originally. You see, it fits in all nice and perfectly like that, so now it is time to let it dry. Heyo, back at it again with the second layer. It is getting dark fast. Night spray painting. So while this layer of Plasti-Dip dries, I am going to take you through how to make my favorite part, the little round ball thing. I was pretty proud of myself for this and how clever I felt whenever I first made it. So you're going to take that ping pong ball and drill through the exact center. Go all the way through and be careful. Don't be like me, I am reckless. You're going to end up with a nice hole, trim that hole, and then you're going to start to make cuts from that bottom hole all around to about halfway up the ball. You're going to see pretty soon how it sort of looks like a flower. Now you're going to take your scissors and you're going to go and cut it around the equator, for lack of a better term, of the ping pong ball, and it'll fit perfectly. I'm pretty proud of this one. Quick update, it's getting late, and in order to make sure that the craft foam continues to have a nice, good round shape for arms, I've put a bunch of tape on another round object, and I'm going to just gently lay the craft foam over it to make sure that as it dries with the rubber coating, it still has a nice rounded shape. Alexa, set an alarm for 30 minutes. All right, so now all we gotta do is wait for that one to dry and we'll be on our last Plasti-Dip layer before we move to the white spray paint. Time for our last Plasti-Dip coat, and I'm wearing glasses to show that time has passed. It's getting late, I'm showered, and I'm off to go do the last 2 coats of paint. One gloss white, we're gonna wait for it to dry, and then do another gloss white. 11 o'clock. Headed to put down the last layer of white on it.
The next day.
Good morning, everyone. It is 8:37 a.m. Let's go check to see how our Gauntlet's doing. It's still there. That's a good sign. Damn it. Legitimately, I have no idea what the these drippages are. This is like new. This is like new. So now I gotta go do 2 more layers of this. Odds are, if you do this, it's gonna go a lot easier than mine, because my neighbors. Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes. So while the gauntlet is drying with its 3rd layer over some mysterious black liquid, we are going to make one of the other doodads. Clip your grommet together. There you go, look at it, it's a little ring. I'm going to use hot glue to assemble the little doodad. Use these Gorilla Glue sticks. I did not my first time, and it definitely made a difference. My friend Christy, you may know her as Princess Me. I'll link her in the description, my very first YouTube video. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna link someone in the description of my first YouTube video. She said use these, so we're gonna use these. This will still stick inside of it if you just leave. It won't stick inside of it if you just leave it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of a hot glue around the edges and around the rim here, and we're just gonna we are down here for the big reveal of the white gauntlet. As you can see, it's got a really nice white shine to it. I'm going to be starting with the inside parts of both of the pieces. And I'm just going to give those 1 coat. For the outside pieces, I'll probably give them 2 coats. We're going to let that dry for 30 minutes, and then we're going to come down, flip them around, and do the front layer. While the doodads are drying, we are going to be doing just a little bit of some paint on the edges so that it can dry while everything else is drying. And we're going to be using our metallic silver spray paint. And if you want, you can put down painter's tape lines to make sure these are perfectly straight, but I'm not going to. And we are finally at assembly time. Here are our pieces. We're going to put them all together. That is looking good. Now, it's very important that since this is something that needs to bend, that we only glue it straight down the middle, okay? Here it is. So as you can see, there's 1 or 2 primary differences between these 2 builds so far. The primary one that I want to focus on is the detailing. It's going to be a combination of black and silver acrylic paint. Basically what you have to do is kind of like think about things that are old and dirty and how it gets all gunky in the crevices and stuff like that. I mean, you're going through wormholes and stuff. This is going to get kind of messed up. So what you want to do is you're going to want to put black paint just like as much as you can, and then you're going to use paper towels to wipe it off except for like in the crevices. It'll highlight some of the details a whole lot better and be able to cover up mistakes if you've made any. And don't worry if things seem to be getting too dull. We're going to go in with the silver afterward to add some more highlights. But this is what we're trying to do right now, is just get the shadows in. And then if you get these like scrapes and stuff like that, totally fine. That helps with your wearing and your tearing, right? Make sure you're getting into like the little nooks and the crannies, because those are what you want to actually have the shadows. We are Bob Rossing it right now. There are no mistakes, there are only happy little accidents. You gotta get it! You gotta go fast! Fast, baby, fast! This one has already gone through the deepest depths of space. Damn, baby really went through a journey here, huh? Okay. Then at this point, if you haven't already bent your gauntlet, you're probably gonna want to go in with some black paint. Get closer to the insides of stuff. So now we have this. Looks pretty okay, but a little dull now. We need to get the silver back out. Remember, the whole goal is just to make it look tarnished. We're gonna wait for this to dry. Alright, I didn't like how much black there was, so I did a little bit of spray paint in a plate. Do not do this. We'll get high probably.
I took a little break to have a friend over and drink some wine, so we're finishing it up now. We're on our final step, which is to add some sort of securing feature around the gauntlet itself. You're going to want to take elastic or any securing method. I'm going to be using some thick elastic. So first and foremost, you're going to go ahead, measure your wrist of your desired arm. You're going to add a little bit, because remember, it's going to be going over fabrics. Fold out your elastic and go ahead and give that baby a snip, snip, snip. Now, let's get the top piece. My normal measurement is about 11, but you want to add space for fabric, so we're going to go 12. So let's hope that it fits and I don't fuck it up. Then, once we have these, we are going to go ahead and flip our buddy over. So we're going to glue these exactly as they're supposed to go, and then when you put it on, it'll bend accordingly. And we're going to meet the seams up in the middle back. So you're gonna press it into the glue and make sure it just doesn't, like come off. That's sort of the goal of putting this on, is to have it not come off. And then up here, we got this one up here too. Same thing as always, slap that down, match it in the middle, and press. You're gonna want to make sure that elastic goes all the way to the very, very edges. If you used Eva foam and you used your heat gun to bend it, good on you. This is just going to be for securing. But if you used craft foam, this is going to be also a little bit for making sure that it has its rounded shape. This is going to be our final touch, guys! And then you will have made your gauntlet. Your very own space gauntlet. For you, Captain. Thank you all so much for watching my first ever YouTube video. Now that we've got our gauntlets done, I'm going to go over some final thoughts now, having made one out of both Eva foam and from craft foam. I will be putting all of the materials that I think could be helpful in an Amazon list in the description. It will be cheaper if you go into any craft store like Michael's or Joann's, because you can use a coupon in order to make these things a lot more affordable. If you go with the Eva foam, remember you're going to need a heat gun in order to bend it, as well as a piece of PVC pipe or anything that you can use to help it hold its form while you heat gun it. If you are going to go ahead and make the craft foam version, I would recommend getting at least one more layer of craft foam in there, possibly two, make it around 3 or 4 layers of craft. It turned out really well. Again, I would use a little more craft foam, but other than that, it turned out pretty well. But both are viable options. If you do this, put a piece of elastic in the middle as well. It'll help with any warping. If you have any questions, please comment below or go to my Tumblr, my Twitter, my Instagram, anything you can find. I will check them periodically. I know everyone who loves, Mark in Space with Markiplier wants to pay honor and tribute to Mark and Amy and the whole crew and how amazing it was. This can definitely enhance your cosplay. Let me know if you liked this video. Let me know if you want any more tutorials for any more of the other costume pieces that I did inspired by In Space with Markiplier. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for bearing with my first ever YouTube video. And like, comment, subscribe. Farewell, friends, and I'll catch you next time. I like that one. That's the one we're gonna go with.